Everybody has a story, but not all stories have been told. This is Benson the Storyteller, and these are some of my untold stories. Hello guys, welcome again to my YouTube channel. My name is Benson the Storyteller, and these are my untold stories. My stories are about real life experiences and things that have happened in my life. And that I want to share with you guys. On my other video, I was telling you guys about how there's a student who was caned in school, almost 100 plus.
Hello.
Hi, 100 plus canes, and that was an incident I can never forget. Now, today I want to tell you guys a story about prison break. I call it prison break. In my school, APTC Primary School, I was kind of a famous, I'd say kind of popular and famous, kind of student, because when I came to APTC Primary School, I'd come with this attitude that I'd gotten in Australia, from the type of Australian education system, which kind of promoted you, pushed you to be independent, to be outspoken, to be a leader, courageous, speak your mind. That's the kind of attitude that the teachers were instilling in us in Australia, the school I was before I moved over to APTC Primary School. So I came to school, with that attitude. So I was this kid with an Aussie Australian accent, all over the place, talking, speaking his mind, and I kind of attracted a lot of students. Like a lot of the times I had this crew, kids who are always around me. And the crazy thing is, what I keep telling you guys, that school was full of very smart kids. Kids were very smart, but I wasn't like the smartest. I was smart, but I wasn't like the smartest, yeah? And I had these kids all around me, like I'd be like controlling them, yeah? Like I was like their leader. It was like a gang, right? But I wasn't the smartest, but still they'd listen to me, right? So I had my crew, Christopher, Mwania, Gashagwa, sometimes even John Mugo. And John Mugo was like, he was the smartest. He was the headmaster's son, and like very extremely smart. I like so many kids. And I remember it got to a stage where it kind of didn't work well for me in a certain way, because I remember there's this boy, I can't remember his name, but he had like he wore spectacles. Small skinny boy, he had spectacles, and I can't remember his name. So sometimes I was being, I was an easy target for some kind of situations. So this boy, I think he kind of like spoiled his glasses. I don't know what he did, but he spoiled them. He broke them. And so I think he didn't want to be direct and just tell the teacher that he broke his glasses. Okay, so he needed a scapegoat. So I think his mom or someone had complained about it, because he told them he didn't say that he broke his own glasses. He came up with some blame game. So one day we're just in class, and our class teacher comes, and she's like, Ben's gang. stand up. And then she calls the boy. And then she's like, did you say Benson's gang? And then he's like, yes. Me, I'm just seated there, I'm listening, I'm wondering what the hell's going on. And then the class are like, yeah, Christopher, I don't know, Gashagwa, I don't know. They start calling out. Me, I'm still seated. And then the teacher's like, stand up, stand up, stand up. You know, names are being called, stand up. And then I still have no idea what's going on. So I'm just seated there. And then the teacher's like, why are you still sitting down? Get up. So I'm like, I'm standing up. I don't know what's going on. Then she's like, are these the boys who broke your spectacles? I'm like, what? What spectacles? Then he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, when was this? You know, so I was like, maybe these guys did it when I didn't know. But how am I being, you know, it's really bad to be put into something that you didn't do, you know, especially something that you have no idea about. So this boy is like, when we were making a line to the dining hall, I don't know, we pushed him, and then I don't know what happened, and he broke his. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. I don't remember. None of us remember that. And which day was that? Why didn't you report? I mean, but then that boy was like this small, tiny, you know. So the teacher was like, nah, this boy can't be lying, you know. So I was like, okay. I'm like, if that's what like being in a so-called gang is, then, you know. But there were so many situations like that, you know, that something happens and then I'm being blamed, you know. I'm being blamed for things that. Okay, so there's also you know, I'm just giving you guys some background story to some situations that made me feel a certain way about school. And you know, sometimes I was like, this is too much. I don't need to be here, you know. I don't have to be in this school, you know. Let me just go home, or like, you know, stuff like that. So on top of that, there's this in school we had okay, before I go on to that, there was also this other boy, forgotten his name. He always used to compete with me. I don't know for what reason, you know. He just come to where I am, right? Like I don't know if he wanted to be my friend, but you know, there are people who you just don't. It's not like they've done anything bad to you, but there are people who you just don't like, or you just don't want to associate with. You want to keep yourself at a distance, you know. So you know how kids are. Sometimes there are a lot of things you do and you don't notice that there's someone who's like watching you 24/7. That boy always, he just wanted any small mistake I did. That boy was so petty. But then the strange thing is, he was a big boy, you know. I was small. He was like tall, and I was like, what type of issues does this boy have, you know, that he just wants to be accepted this much, you know. And he'd go report me for petty things like, you know, I'm littering. Like you take something out of your pocket and then something falls down. And even before you can pick it up, he's ran to the closest teacher and said, Ben's littering. I mean, that boy was so petty. You know, I just hope I could remember his name. That boy, he just, you know, he moved from one extreme, like he wanted me to be his friend so bad, and then switched to the other extreme where he just wants to get me in trouble for no reason, you know. And it's like these things were, it happened a lot, you know. There are people students who just didn't like me. I don't know. There's so many, I just don't want to mention their names, you know, just because. But this one, I hope I could remember his name so that I could. Because his was non-stop, you know. There are times I even asked him, dude, what's the problem? Can we sort out what the issue is, you know? Now, in our school, we used to have, what's going on? think that's a ambulance or police. So in our school we had visiting days. We had what we called visiting days. Now these visiting days, I think it was once every term, maybe once every term there was a visiting day. Now the visiting day was basically where your parents come to visit in school. Maybe your parents, your brothers and sisters, they come and they make for you food. So they bring for you all the type of food. Before in our school we were allowed to have civilian clothing, and we are allowed also to bring food from outside, sweet snacks in our bags, in our boxes. But because kids kind of misused that, and there were a lot of clothes that used to be found scattered all over the school, and nobody owned to them. Some were left soaking in the laundry room, until they started getting moldy and all that stuff. So the administration was like, no, everybody's going to have like 3 or 4 pairs of uniform and no home clothes. The same to the to food. Some kids kept food in their boxes, like bread and stuff, until they got moldy, and people are getting sick. So they said, no. It will be hard for us to know whether it's the kitchen food or what that's getting people sick. So no food is allowed in school, so that if at all there's food poisoning or anything, we know it came from the from the school food. All right. So everybody was looking forward to these visiting days. Visiting days were like visiting days and the closing day. Those were the most important days in school. Everyone used to look forward to those days. So visiting days, parents and your siblings used to come. They make for you chapatis, they make for you meat, cakes, like sodas, chips, crisps, sweets, like everything, everything that you've longed to eat and you couldn't get a chance because you're in school, just busy eating school food. So the unfortunate thing is, for me, was that my parents, because by now my dad had moved from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Nairobi, and he'd been posted to Mombasa. All right. So my dad was working in Mombasa, and at this same time my mother also had transferred from first she was in APTC primary school, then she moved to Shadrach Kimalel in Kibera, and then she was moved to a school in Kisumu called Nanga Primary School, which is St. Vitalis Primary School. So at this particular time, I was, my family had moved from Gumo Estate, where we stayed, Highview, and gone to Kisumu, right? But I used to stay still in Nairobi, and anytime we used to close, I used to go to my my auntie's place, my mother's elder sister's place in Ruaraka. That place was the, what do you call it? It was this place. It was like a forest place in Ruaraka. It was for architects. I've forgotten, but my uncle, yeah, that's where they used to stay. So every time we used to close, I used to go and stay with them. All right. Now, I just hope I could remember the name of the place. All right. So my parents were not in Nairobi. So guys, the problem was this. For several terms, for a long period of time, no one used to come and visit me during the visiting days, right? So basically what used to happen is, on visiting days, you are in the classes, right? Everybody was in school, in the class. And on that day, your parent comes, they sign in, and then they go, you're called from class that your parent has come. So you leave class and you do what? You go with them out. So when they go, the whole, you can go sit anywhere in all of the school. You can go under a tree, you can go to the dining hall, you can be in the parking in the car, you can go to the field, anywhere you want to stay with your parents. You can sit down, and then they come with the food, and then you sit down with them, talk and eat. So almost every time that we had these visiting days, people would be called out of class one by one. So and so, your parent is here. So and so, your parent is here. So and so, and the rest of you would just have to stay in. It was just like a normal school day, but there's no teachers. But there would be time for break. But it's a normal, like it's almost like a normal school day. And then it's only in the afternoon now you guys were just let to be. You're just left. So I remember most of the time we are very, very few of us. And also, I remember there's usually this happened after we done our exams, and there was a list, the list of the results. They used to put them on the wall. So there's this boy, I used to really sympathize with this boy. I don't know if his name was Oliver. He was almost the last. He was always the last, in the exam, like marks. Because they'd start with the highest, which was always John Mugo, and then the lowest, which was always him. And the worst thing is his dad was a senior SSP. Was it Macharia? Was it Macharia? His dad was an SSP, senior superintendent of police. I think that's what it means. So usually, okay, when the visiting day, how it happened, you are not actually called. No, you're not called. Your parents came to class, yeah. So your parent comes to class, and then the teacher's there, because the class teacher is usually in the class, and your parent comes in, talks to the class teacher, and look at your performance, because the list is on the wall, like number 1 all the way to, I don't know, both streams. I don't know if we were 80 something, like 40. I can't remember for certain. So one of these days, when parents are coming, they're looking, then they go, they look, they take you, they go. I remember this dude's dad comes. He comes, even he's got the police. It's like he just left the barracks just to come for a bit and bring his son some food. So he comes, and then it's like people knew him. People knew this boy's dad. So the moment he entered the door, people start giggling, because they know his son is like the last at the bottom of the list. Kids are so funny. So his dad comes to school, and he comes in. Everyone knows, oh, this is SSP. I don't know if the name was Macharia, and that boy was, I don't know if it was Oliver. No, not Oliver. Someone Macharia. I've forgotten. Oliver is the other guy. Oliver is that other boy who stole my Walkman. Okay, so this boy's dad comes, with a full uniform, with all that stuff, and then he goes, and then kids are so silly. The moment he starts looking, and then even him, he starts looking from the top, from the top of the list, and he's like, and people are laughing. He's like all the way to the bottom. He sees his son. He sees his son's name at the bottom. Guys, imagine he just turned and left. He turned and just took all the food he'd come with and went home, left the boy. That thing it was funny and it was sad. It was funny and sad at the same time. Now, okay, so that was just a by the way, because I just remember that. So parents were coming, they're looking at your marks, talking to the teacher. Teacher says, he's been nice or he's been naughty, this and this, he should work on this and this subjects, and and then you'd go with your child, go find a place to sit and eat. So the thing is, me, most of the time, I'd remain because my parents didn't come. My dad wasn't in Nairobi. My mom wasn't in Nairobi. And I think, sometimes they just forgot about me. So they forgot about these things. So usually in a class of 40-something, we'd remain maybe 15. 15 students who their parents didn't come. And now if your parent didn't come, you guys who your parent didn't come, you'll just have to go to the dining hall and eat the normal school food. All right? So for me, some of these things, really made me sad, and I remember sometimes when now we are going to the dining hall, you pass, you see everybody, your classmates, they're seated, eating chapatis, drinking sodas under the tree, they're giggling, their small younger brothers and sisters are there, they're playing around, and you're going to the dining hall, to eat ugali and beans, and occasionally, if you're lucky and you had like me, sometimes I had my cousin, Michael Otieno Jagero. Michael Otieno, usually he'd call me, and they'd call me and I'd join them and I'd eat with them, and it kind of, made it a little better that my parents didn't come. But sometimes, you just didn't want to, you didn't feel like you wanted to join them because it was a family thing. You just feel, and I just felt maybe it would be too much all the time, then someone, why does he, where is his parents? So sometimes I just avoid, and just go to eat in the dining hall. So there were so many tiny issues in school that made me not feel very happy being in that school. And sometimes I just felt like I needed a break, to just go visit my uncle, because there's an uncle of mine who lived in a place called Caledonia. It's somewhere next to the State House, Hurlingham, yeah. And at that time, his son was like my best friend, and they were in day school. You go to school, you come back, and I used to wonder and ask myself, why am I in a boarding school and most of my cousins, they're in day schools and they go to school, they're driven to school and come back to the house, eat nice food and all that, and me, my parents don't even come to visit me during the visiting days. I used to feel a certain type of way. So I was like, okay, if my parents can't come visit me, all right, then I'll go out of school and go visit my uncle or visit whoever I can go visit, because it wasn't fair. And I used to feel that way, I used to feel really frustrated, and I'm like, no, I cannot be every visiting day no one comes and visits me. And also I used to feel like sometimes I was just being targeted unfairly, because I was this outspoken boy, even I used to, in class, I asked questions, I was very outgoing, and I don't think it didn't work well for me so much, because later on as you know, I progressed in school and got used to the Kenyan system. The Kenyan system is more like keep quiet, do as you're told, don't speak out, follow the rules, listen. You get what I'm trying to say. And the Australian system was like, speak your mind, say what you think, be a leader. But the Kenyan system is kind of like, be a follower, follow the rules, don't stand out, be with the rest of the people. It kind of like tries to keep you in check, to grow up to be a system, someone who goes with the system, not someone who like thinks out of the box. So I just felt like I was being boxed in, and I just felt a certain type of way, and so I started scheming, guys. I think you guys you've watched Prison Break, right? Where these guys are planning on how to escape from prison, and making plans and studying. That's what I started to do. I started thinking, like now, and usually, this thing usually used to happen to me after these visiting days, and my parents don't come, and I'm extremely sad, and I'm extremely moody, and I'm like, this isn't fair, I'd start scheming, and that's how it all started, and I was very notorious, I'm one of the kids who managed to run away from that school successfully. Like imagine, guys, this is a school in the middle of a national park. Number one, this school had a perimeter fence, a very high fence. It's almost like a prison fence all around. Number three, this school had police guards at night. There were 2 police officers and a dog, a German Shepherd dog. All right? 4, this school was inside the Administration Police Training College camp. All right? 5, this school was inside an Administration Police Training Camp, which was inside a national park, which was miles away from the nearest form of transport, public transport. Guys, imagine that. Yeah. And still yours truly in class, I don't know, class 6, class 5 or class 6, yours truly managed to escape, run away from this school all the way to Nairobi city by himself, without being noticed. No one knew that I wasn't in school. Imagine something that had never happened, and I don't think ever happened again. I'm not sure. Maybe some kids also managed to do it, but I was the original, the first boy to ever do that in that school. And it was just because of frustration. I just felt sometimes you just feel down, you feel neglected, like, why is everyone's parents coming and me, no one comes to visit me? And and plus all this small change of environment and all this stuff that's going on in school, I was like, no, I need a break. And whenever I felt like I need a break, I'd just leave. So I managed to break out of school on several occasions, and without being caught, yes, and it was only once that I was caught, but then I'll tell you guys about that story later. So on my next video, you guys just keep watching, because these stories are getting more crazy as we go. All right, so on my next video, I'm going to tell you guys what happened and how I escaped from school without being caught. All right, so for you guys who are new, please consider subscribing to my channel and follow my real life stories. For those of you who are subscribers, usual viewers, thank you for watching me and thank you for listening to my stories. Please watch them all the way to the end, and I'll see you guys on my next video. All right, goodbye.